Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hoopers Lab podcast. This is the podcast where we talk all things basketball. I'm your host, Brody, joined here by my co host, Riley.
Hello, hello.
It's been a minute, but we are back.
It has just
How,
started
yeah.
immediately choking on my water.
Well, that's a great way to start.
I know.
So, today, if you can tell by the title and stuff, we are going to be ranking the best point guards in the league.
What?
So, what? That's crazy. So yeah, we've compiled our different lists for our players we think are the best point guards in the league. We have our top 10 and honorable mentions. And then we rank our rankings off of last season plus some extra stuff. Like it's not strictly just off of last season. Um, we think that these are the top 10 point guards in the league. And we don't have guys like Ja Morant on here because he did not play enough games. So he is not going to be in this ranking.
John Morant, Mello.
Um,
Anyone else of note? Books on the
uh,
list.
yes, Booker is on the list because he played point guard last year. Most of his minutes were at the point guard position. So the positions we do based off last year. So he is going to be in this list. Next year he will not be on this list because he will not be a point guard next year because they have Tyus Jones.
I don't know. I still think
Uh,
they might low key start Book at point and bring Tyus off the bench, but we'll see.
no, I think they signed. I think Tyus said he was starting.
I
That
think
was like
he.
one of the things they promised
Well, I
him.
hope so. 'Cause I think he should start, but
Book might play the three.
I might
I
be.
think that's more. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit odd, but yeah. So let's get into some honorable mentions. Who do you have as some guys that barely missed the cut?
Yeah, my first two honorable mentions were probably the closest to actually making the list, and I got Jamal Murray and Drew Holiday as my first two guys.
Okay, got it. I have Drew Holiday as an honorable mention as well. We could talk about him first. If you're talking about like impact and like he is the perfect point guard for a team that has stars already.
Yeah,
You know, that perfect glue guy connecting piece. We've seen that with Milwaukee. We've seen that with Boston. He is able to elevate teams to the next level when he is on a team. So the impact he has defensively, I mean, scoring the ball and offensively, he took a big drop because the team is just so stacked.
that's the thing as
Um,
well. He just like doesn't really need to at all. So it's not like a major thing, like a deal breaker for me. But yeah, I totally understand. Like I know a lot of people who really give Drew a lot of credit, and yeah, I 100% could understand justifying him, or at least trying to put him on in your top 10.
yeah, he's really turned into a shooter later in his career as well. Like he shot 43% from three this year on 5 attempts a game. Like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I always think he's been
Um,
a pretty underrated like facilitator as well.
yes, for sure. 5 assists a game with, you know, pretty good. Um, yeah, he's an honorable mention for me. I have another honorable mention being James Harden. He is a guy I didn't really think about, but like when I was looking at other people's lists just for fun, he was high on lots of them, and I don't really understand why. Like he's still really good. I don't think that he is close to being in the top 10,
No,
but I thought I'd just give him a little shout out here.
yeah, I didn't even put him down, which
Um,
probably is a mistake. But yeah, I really think James Harden at this point in his career is pretty underrated, and that's not to say that he's like, um, he's still top 10 point guard esque, but I think just what he does on the court, people overlook a lot, and at least in terms of the general public, since they like to hate on my man so much. But yeah,
yeah, for sure. And then my last honorable mention is Tyrese Maxey. He is the guy that was closest to making it. He did not make my top 10 for me. And I see that Jamal Murray made your top 10, so I'm guessing you have Maxey in your top 10.
yeah, since Jamal's an honorable mention, yeah,
Yeah. So I'm guessing Maxey's in your top 10 then.
yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so I just have Maxi as
Spoiler.
the odd guy out.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Uh, no, nothing really. I'll talk about Maxi a bit later, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give more so shout outs to these guys because I think, especially next season, well, at least for one of them, but I just
Okay.
wanted to mention Fred and Cade. They were both close for me. I just think Cade really needs to get his efficiency up, which I'm hoping we have a bit of a, I don't want to say bounce back year because he didn't have a bad year, but yeah, just quite inefficient. And then Fred VanVleet was really holding it down for the Rockets and in their attempt to make the play in. But yeah,
Yeah. It's just such an unfortunate case because he might be the best player. Like, if you do a redraft of what year was that? The 2021 draft, you still might take him one. But we just, like, it's hard to gauge Cade's value because his team is just so bad.
yeah,
And they're just, like, not surrounding him with any talent that's fit to what
I
his
was
play
gonna say
style
they
is.
didn't do,
So,
they didn't get much better this offseason.
no, I still am not a big fan of the Ron Holland pick. And
I
they didn't
think
really get, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. But I think the fact that they can have him develop behind Tobias Harris now that he's there for 2 seasons, I'm not totally against it. Not that Tobias Harris himself is a fantastic floor spacer either, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel bad for Cade.
The Pistons are cooking up some hot cereal right now, so
Yeah. Cade's probably the player I feel the most bad for in the NBA. Like, just his situation, I just, like, feel really bad for him. I mean, I don't know. I want to see him succeed, and I want to see him uh, string together some games while still playing at this high level, which I know he can do. It's just that his team around him just does not want to help him out.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, he definitely will improve this year, I think, and he can start to creep into these conversations more. Um, yeah. I have Jamal Murray at 10, and then you have him as an honorable mention, so it's not too far off.
yeah,
So we could talk a bit about Jamal Murray. So with Jamal Murray, he's an interesting case just because he is so much of a playoff player in our minds. Like, he still hasn't made an All-Star game yet. Um, and he like can disappear at times and be inconsistent. But when he's at the top of his game, I mean, he's elite. We've seen that. Um,
yeah,
it's just how often do we see that, you
yeah.
know?
That's always been my thing with Jamal Murray is that he's just really he's he's not as inconsistent as he used to be. That was a big knock on him earlier, that he was just super inconsistent. Now he's at
Hmm.
least, that bona fide number two every night. But yeah, we don't really see it fully in the regular season, and it only really comes alive in the playoffs, especially against the Lakers. Apparently, he had that boy in shambles. But yeah, he's definitely a 16 game player, which I mean that is an impactful type of basketball, so it definitely deserves credit. But I just felt like it wasn't enough. Well, he actually was originally on my list, but then I forgot about someone who I'll get to shortly. But
Okay.
yeah, it's not enough to project him any higher than around the 9 to 12 range, in my opinion.
Yeah, I originally, like, the first draft I had of this list, I had him pretty high. And then, because I was like, oh, he is a guy that when it matters the most, he is there. Unless he's injured, because he was definitely injured against the Lakers in that series and just the playoffs. So that definitely hurt his case a bit. But I still understand. Like, I know that he was injured and that the Jamal Murray we've seen in the playoffs this year was not the usual Jamal Murray. Um, but yeah, he's a solid defender as well. Like, there's guys on here that are definitely below average. I'd say he's an average defender.
Yeah,
He has moments where he can hold his own. But yeah, he also shot very good from three this year. Like, let me see. It was like 42.5%. So basically 43% from three on 6 attempts per game, which is really good. And then almost 7 assists per game. Like, when he's on the top of his game, there's not much better.
Yeah,
But I think that injuries and inconsistencies, I think, hurt him a bit. And just the fact that the regular season does matter. Like, I know we talk, like, it's not just about the playoffs. You have to do both, I think.
yeah,
And he still needs to pick it up in the regular season a bit. Granted, they win games with him doing what he's doing, but especially with KCP gone, he's going to have to take a bigger step, I think, in that regard.
yeah. If they want to
But
have another
yeah,
top three in the West season, he's probably going to have to. I don't want to say actually be an all star this season because the West is just so talent
West
filled.
guards, it's hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's going to have to be playing like an all star all season. If they want to have a
Yes,
good
for sure.
season.
Yeah, definitely. Who do you have at number 10?
Yeah, so my number 10, who I forgot, is Damian Lillard.
Okay.
And when I forgot about him,
You forgot him?
I
How'd that
legit
happen?
I legit forgot him. I just like didn't add him to my player pool. So I was like, when I was making my list, I was looking at everybody in my player pool, and I just completely forgot about Dame. Um, I had him at 9 originally, but he just had such
Okay.
a poor season to his standards last year that I feel like I couldn't justify it. He was super inefficient all season, and he had one of the worst defensive seasons of his career. And I just feel like, obviously he still put up decent numbers. He's Damian Lillard. We expect that. And I expect him to have a pretty solid bounce back year as well, at least. But I just feel like I couldn't really justify putting him any higher than that over other guys, just because obviously, before last season he was playing top of his game and before injuries and whatnot. But yeah, just with the inefficiency was really poor. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like him not being such a negative on the defensive side of the floor as well really hurt the Bucks just in general. And obviously that's not all on him because they have they had to bring in Patrick Beverly to be their defensive guy. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm expecting a bounce back year from him this year. But yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
around this range is okay for him.
Yeah, I have him just one spot higher at 9. And I did give him more of the benefit of the doubt, I think. I think that's just the main difference. Like, I gave him the benefit of the doubt that he went through, like, from what reports said, like, a pretty rough divorce and just, like, different personal stuff there. Like, he's been in Portland all his career. This was his first year anywhere else. And then he has to deal with a divorce on top of that. And he came into the season unhealthy because he wasn't really working out this past summer because he didn't want to injure himself and hurt his, trade value. He wanted to get out of Portland. So to do that, he kind of needed to stay healthy. So like Doc, I think it was Adrian Griffin or
It was
Doc. One of them said that like he came into the season out of shape,
yeah,
and that's definitely you could definitely see that with the statistical drop off. But like he was the third best point guard in the league for me last season. Like I looked back on my list, he was number 3. I had him behind Luka and Steph. So I think that like I don't think he'll get back to that, but I think that he will have a bit of a bounce back year. I'm hoping as well.
yeah.
But I'm yeah.
Even if he doesn't have like a season next year where the stats jump off the stat sheet, as long as his efficiency gets back up to more of what we expect from him, and maybe now that he has Gary Trent Jr. to chase around people on the perimeter, he can at least try a little harder on that side of the
His
ball as well.
boy,
For real,
his boy Gary Trent.
reunited.
Portland buddies. Yeah, he just needs more Portland guys. Just get some Portland guys in that locker room. Just remind him of the good old days. Well, they weren't all that good, but you know what I mean. I think that the offense as well, like this was his first time playing with a guy like Giannis, and the coaches that they haven't really like incorporated the two together well. I think that when they gel more, Dame and Giannis, I think that his game will elevate as well. So that's kind of what I'm expecting for this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think with the full
And
with the full
yeah,
training camp with Doc as well, who Obviously, he had
Mm-hmm.
his issues as a coach, but one thing
Yeah.
he'll do is get you regular season wins, and he didn't really do that last year. But I do want to give him some of the benefit of the doubt since he came
Mm-hmm.
to a odd situation and with a
Yeah.
team that basically barely played any transition defense last year. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think in general the Bucks will have a bounce back year, which is kind of odd to say considering they were the 3 seed. But
Yeah, for sure. Um, and like, let's not forget, Dame was still very clutch this season, and he had those big moments. But in terms of his consistency and just how inefficient he was at lots of stretches in the season, I think that 9 to 10 is a good range for him. Like, I have
yeah,
him 9, you have him 10, which I think is fair.
yeah,
Um, and I think that like from my one honorable mention of Maxi all the way to probably number 7, I think that those 5 guys are all in the same tier for me.
yeah.
So it's really just splitting hairs.
Yeah, I agree with that. This kind of group all is definitely around the same range for me as well.
Yes. So yeah, let's move on to number 8. Who do you have? Or
I
you haven't done your 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is where I got Maxi. I'm kind of glad that you
Okay.
don't. He was an honorable mention for you, because I feel like I like Maxi, but I feel like the general public is really started to take an extra liking to him. I'm not good to
Yes.
use that word, but
hmm
he did he
That
did
word.
he did have a very good season last year. Efficiency was really good, and obviously
hmm
career high in scoring numbers. And the playmaking is honestly what made me put him over Dame, because the playmaking was better than I was anticipating when I was looking over stats and everything. Um,
He does not turn it over, man.
yeah,
He is really good with the ball.
yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
although he's super small, he's super quick, so he can play that type of defense. And I
hmm
mean the way they're talking about his off-season workouts there. I'm expecting this man to average like 30 next season. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just had a very good season for them, especially for a Philly team that kind of needed it with Joel missing a decent amount of time. Well, not a decent. How much did he miss? Like half the season?
Um, I think like half the season, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Let me look. JoJo played 39 games.
Jesus, man. Yeah. When you're missing your MVP, for over half the season, you're gonna have to do a lot of backpacking. And for a Philly team that still squeaked into the seventh seed, um, I think a lot of credit has to go to Maxi for that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, the main reason that I don't have Maxi as high, and also we have Dame, Jamal, and Maxi in the 3 like 9 to honorable mention range. So we just have them switched around.
Yeah.
Um, but the main thing about Maxi, he had a great playoff series against the Knicks, which I think helped a lot of people's mindset of him too, because it's the last thing you remember.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, with guys like Jamal Murray, the last thing you remember of him is probably that not so great playoff series against the Timberwolves. Uh, but I think that Maxi, it's really splitting hairs between like Maxi and Dame and Jamal. The other guys have just like proven more.
Yeah.
Overall, I wanted to be a bit more patient with Maxi since I see a lot of people jumping the gun with him. Uh, and then, yeah, like other guys have proved more as the number one guy. Like we've seen, uh, like Dame in the playoffs, he was pretty good, I think, when he was playing against the Pacers, and we know what he can be. Whereas Maxi, like I think he's an ultra number 2 guy.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
And that's not like a
because
bad thing
his
either.
yeah, no, it's definitely not a bad thing. But I don't know. I just wanted to give Dame. I think the main difference is I gave Dame more of the benefit of the
Yeah.
doubt. And then I also was a bit more patient with Maxi. But yeah, Dame, and Jamal are all very close, obviously.
Yeah. I agree. Um,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even Drew. I wouldn't be. Yeah. Even Drew. I wouldn't be mad if he was over some of the guys. This tier is super close in general for me.
Yes, for sure. Okay, who's your next player?
This is where
This is number 8 for you?
yeah, Mr.
Yeah, okay.
De'Aaron Foxy.
Okay, I also have De'Aaron here.
Yeah, that's
So let's see if 1 to 8 is the exact same,
I
which
would
it very well
no,
might be.
maybe. No, I don't think so. I think
All
we'll
right,
have
we'll
I
see.
think we'll have at least one difference.
Well, I think I know what that is now, but okay, we'll
Maybe
see.
not. I don't know.
Uh, talk to me about De'Aaron.
Yeah. So I think he had a very interesting season last year because he started off the season. I think he missed a couple games at the beginning of the season, but then when he came back, he was like going, putting up 30. He was playing. He continued to play like the clutch player of the year from before. The three ball efficiency was super high, and then he kind of dipped down a little bit, back to more what we know of him. The three ball was lower. The points per game dropped, which is fine because he was still putting up good numbers. Obviously, always putting up always a great playmaker, and we know him as a great defender as well, which is kind of also the reason I gave him kind of the edge over that tier in general. Definitely more
Yeah,
of a all-around guy compared to the others. Um, and yeah, the Kings obviously had a disappointing season, but I think that's kind of just due to not really, well, I guess a fault of their own. But not on the players. I think the rest of the West just kind of got a lot better, and they just kind of stayed the same. And with the DeMar DeRozan pickup this year, I'm hoping they'll kind of bounce back. But I mean, the West is going to be a bloodbath, man.
yeah, for sure. I'm kind of scared for De'Aaron's upcoming season just because one thing about De'Aaron is that his best strength is his quickness and his finishing ability. And with every year, the amount of drives he has and the amount of shots he takes at the rim is lower and lower, and the amount of jump shots he's taking goes higher and higher. Which like it is good that he's improving his 3 point shot. Like he jumped up from 5 3 point attempts a game to 8, and he went from a 32% 3 point shooter to a 37%,
Yeah,
which is really good. But I want him to get more to that bread and butter, and I think that that's going to be even harder with DeMar on the team.
yeah,
And yeah, I don't know. Defensively, like you talked about, he led the league in steals, which a lot of people probably don't know. And like he's not an elite defender because obviously steals aren't a determiner of, defense that much. But like when it comes to on the ball defense, he can hold his own.
yeah,
Off ball he can fall asleep, but like what stars don't, you
yeah,
know? He has other things to worry about, But yeah, I just kind of want him to go to that bread and butter a bit more.
yeah. I agree.
Attacking downhill, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard now that the spacing's even less. Hopefully,
Yes.
Keegan Murray has a pretty good season for them, which I anticipate. His job isn't, I don't want to say it's easy, but when you have so many good creators like they do with DeMar, Swipa, and Sabonis, you'll definitely get some looks. And then they did bring back bring back key pieces as well. So I think he has the potential to have a super good season next year, but they'll definitely need to work quickly. And I expect, Mike Brown is a great offensive coach, so I expect he'll be able to figure it out. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I don't think Fox is as good offensively as some of the guys that we named before him,
yeah,
but I think that the defense definitely helps a lot.
yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
because like yeah, a lot of guys below him are not that great of defenders. So I think him being the way he is on that side of the ball, I think it elevates him to number 8 for me.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
this is like, I'd
yeah.
say this is like the split. Like I'd say that kind of group below, and then Swipa's like half a tier above them, and then the next tier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Who's your number 7?
This is where I have Tyrese Halliburton.
I knew this was the change. I knew this is where it was because I have Trey Young here.
Yeah,
Um, I definitely thought that this is where you were going with this, and I'm not too mad at it. Talk to me about Tyrese.
yeah, I really like Tyrese Halliburton, and I love, I'm a super big fan of playmaking point guards in general. Very high assist to turnover ratio type, just taking care of the ball, getting efficient looks. But the way my friend explained this one time is Tyrese Halliburton needs to get over his passing kink. and I kind of agree to an extent. I feel like sometimes he struggles to switch between playing the ultra facilitator role and Tyrese, we just need you to take over. And I think part of that is due to his lack of an in between game, which is where I really think
Yes.
he could benefit. Because,
Hmm.
obviously he has a wonky 3 point shot, so it does take some time to get off. And then he's a solid finisher as well. But, that in between mid range scoring area, I don't think he really has a whole lot of anything there. And, you know,
He's scared to take those mid-range shots,
yeah.
definitely.
And it's just,
Like,
yeah,
if he had that shot in his game, it would be so lethal because he is open. Like, those looks can be open when he's working the pick and roll because he's so good at manipulating the pick and roll, where he gets an open look from mid-range if he just, like, took a fadeaway mid-range, but he just doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping more the more scoring game comes out of him next year, because he has potential to be, well, I don't want to say top five, just how good the top five is, but around there, and an even better season. Obviously, he had some super high highs last year
Yes.
in the tournament. Even in the playoffs, he was pretty good. Apart from
Mhm.
the last series, yeah, against the Celtics, he was just kind of meh. All right, wasn't he hurt? I think he was hurt after
I
game
think
one.
he was hurt. Yeah. Let me. I believe so, but let me double check. Uh, yes, he was.
Yeah,
So.
he was solid up until that point where he got hurt. So hopefully he comes back. I'd like to see a little bit more progression on the defensive side of the floor as well. Not a whole lot there. And he's taller,
Yes.
so he has the taller and stockier, so he has the um, opportunity to do that. So yeah,
He's 6'5". He has no excuse to be as bad as he was on the defensive side of the ball this year.
yeah,
Because like in Sacramento, he wasn't this bad of a defender. Like I actually thought he was kind of okay on that side of the ball.
yeah,
Um, but obviously once you become the main guy, your defense takes a bit of a hit. But there's no reason that he should have been that bad on the
yeah.
defensive side of the ball.
And it doesn't
Like,
exactly help
yeah.
either that they don't have a lot of defensive talent. But yeah,
Hmm.
you know,
Like
you,
he's 6'5" and he's lengthy. Like
yeah,
Trey Young doesn't have that excuse, you know.
yeah.
I didn't know that Eddie Jones and Tyrese Halliburton are cousins. That's interesting. I see the resemblance. Just like us. Cousins that are, yeah. But yeah, the thing with Reese, uh, he needs to stop with that step back three.
Yeah,
That is like the majority of shots he takes is that step back three. And when it's hitting, like it was in the in-season tournament, he looks like a god. But when it's not hitting, there's nothing really else that he goes to. Like
yeah,
there's not really many easy like looks that he gets, you know, and that mid-range shot could be one. But I don't know if he physically can with the way his shot mechanics are.
yeah. No, and that's
You
the
know?
thing. His scoring bag is very limited, and when teams kind of expose that, you can see some of the flaws in his game, which is why, yeah, I know they say not to touch the jump shot, but I mean, if he's not going to be able to shoot it in the mid range or off the
Hmm.
dribble very well, something's got to change. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
and yeah, I really like Tyrese Halliburton. And I just think the lows of his season were quite alarming, I suppose, in terms of how
Yeah,
superstar, quote unquote, he can be.
yeah, I mean that makes sense. The thing with Reese, I think, is that I'm a really big fan of guys that can make players around them better and guys that can, elevate their team to the next level, which like playmaking wise, he showed that this year. Like he brought the Pacers to a level that no one really expected them to be at.
Yeah,
And I give him a lot of credit for that. Obviously, the team like is really good, and there are players that stepped it up. But I put a lot of that on Tyrese Halliburton. Being able to have a big impact on elevating his team's ceiling. Um, yeah, and Reese has a lower usage than some other guys that are here, so I think that I kind of value that. Like he doesn't need the ball as much as some other players to be as effective. Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, just that playmaking is just so good.
yeah.
Like I know that him and Trey, they average around the same amount of assists. They both average 10 plus a game, but I value Reese's
And
playmaking a
definitely,
lot more.
yeah, it's definitely different styles of playmaking.
Yes, for sure. Yes, two very different kinds of playmakers. Uh, but yeah, and then you've got Trey at number
Number
6, and
six,
I've got him at 7. So we just have Tyrese and Trey flipped, right?
I'm assuming you have Tyrese at 6.
I do have Tyrese at 6, yes.
Yeah,
So we just have them flipped.
yeah, this is where I got Trey Young.
Yeah,
And
which it's a preference thing, because like yeah, I think that they're both kind of in that same tier. They're both
yeah,
similar, but I think that you're going to talk about Trey scoring and how much you value that. So
no, well, I didn't want, don't want it to sound biased or anything. So, yeah, obviously Trey is an elite scorer, and he has that, all-around scoring ability that Tyrese Halliburton kind of lacks. Um, Obviously Trey's efficiency was down and has kind of been down. Um, and again, at this point in his career, I'd go as far as saying very underrated with how much discredit Trey Young gets, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that wouldn't even put him in their top 10.
yes, when I was doing research, there was definitely lists that had him not in the top 10,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
yeah,
And I think that you could tell someone's ball knowledge just based on their thoughts on Trey Young.
yeah,
I think that like there's the people that hate on Trey Young, I think that you can tell that they're not really watching the games
yeah.
because Trey Young lacks a lot in advanced stats. And so advanced stats nerds
I
hate Trey
I
Young. People
hate
that box
I
score,
hate
like
advanced stats.
watching that stuff,
Yeah,
they hate him.
no, and that's the thing. Trey, he does need to be better himself because he doesn't exactly make it easy to. I don't want to say root for him, but you know, when you're watching him, sometimes it's like he just does some things that you're like, why would you do that? Like I think some of the
There are frustrating
yeah
moments for sure.
the sometimes too many deep threes and the percentage from three in general just needs to get back up. I hope
Hey, it did get back up.
get back
This
up
was the
even
second best shooting team
I guess.
or year.
But I don't know. It still didn't feel great um, a lot of the time. And obviously the Halliburton, not Halliburton, Dejounte Murray and Trey Fitz wasn't amazing. And it's I don't know. I don't know if it's coaching because obviously they changed out the coach and that didn't do anything. So I'm hoping, I don't know, maybe they'll revert back to this all Trey Young offense type and it'll work out for them.
The less is more theory. Yeah, that's definitely what they're banking on.
And it's
Uh,
kind of crazy, but I feel like I'm borderline buying stock on the Hawks this year. I kind of like their team.
mm,
I
okay.
I really like Dyson Daniels. If he can
Yeah,
hit some threes and doesn't look like Bambi out there, he'll be fantastic for them. I
yeah.
I don't want to say they made the right pick with Reese Sachet, but I really like Reese Sachet for them specifically. Um, and then Jalen Johnson, I'm expecting another big year. Hopefully he's not hurt as
Oh
much.
yeah.
Uh,
My boy Jalen Johnson.
when he was playing, he was fantastic. Um,
Yes.
and then I don't know.
My most improved player.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna exactly do with the center position, but Trey Young always gets the best out of his centers, anyways. But yeah, again, Trey
Yeah.
Young just obviously the scoring is elite. The playmaking is also elite. Bit of a ball hog, but I mean it works. Work.
He's a playmaking ball hog. It's
Yeah,
very two, yeah, like him and Reese are two very different playmakers.
yeah,
Reese is a very much like willing passer, and Trey is more of a passer for the assist.
yeah. And
Uh,
while Trey obviously at one point was looked at as the worst defender in the league, I don't think that's the case anymore. Obviously, he's not.
that was yes.
Obviously, he's not a plus defender or anything, but at least he's not
Hmm.
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, that was another thing I was gonna bring up was defensively he has improved. So I mean, obviously, the improvement still hasn't made him a good defender or even in I don't know, but it's still good that he's taking that jump. That's something that I definitely looked at as well. Like he's improved defensively from last year, and also the shooting improved. Like he took almost 3 more 3-pointers per game, and last year he shot 34%, and then this year he shot 37%. So I think that, like, obviously he does still take those deep threes that are kind of like, when they miss, it's like, what are you doing? But then when they hit, it's like, that's Trae Young.
That's Steph Curry
Uh,
Jr.
so yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, he's an elite offensive talent, obviously, the best one that we've talked about so far. And it is an offensive centric game that we are in. So that's definitely valuable. I think that people with Trae Young, they only talk about his turnovers and his defense. And I think that they overlook the fact that he's one of the most gifted offensive talents we have in our league.
Yeah,
Um, like, especially to be like the size he is. Like, he's 6'1", and that might not
I
even
was
be
gonna
true.
say
He
he
might even
might
be
not
shorter
even
than
be
that.
6'1".
Yeah, and the way that he's able to score like 25 plus a game in the league, where, the league has getting taller and taller every year, but a guy like Trae Young is still able to, lead a team, be the best player on a team, and still have his impact and presence be known. But yeah, I do believe he is getting underrated a bit. Well, not a bit. I think he is, because I think lots of people just look at the advanced stats and the defense and they hate on him
Yeah,
without looking at the things he does amazingly.
yeah. I think he's been underrated for quite a while. I definitely understand though how the missing the playoffs the past few. No, they made it last year, but missing the playoffs last
Yeah, they
year
did.
or this year, and then having your co-star and Dejounte Murray not really work out whatsoever. I get it, but yeah, again, I'm hoping for a big year from them this year, especially from my boy Jalen
Hmm.
Johnson.
Yeah, I get the criticisms too, but I think we'll see a better Trae Young this year.
Yeah,
Uh, okay, let's go to our top five. Who do you have at number five?
I have Knicks legend build him a
Okay.
statue, Jalen Brunson.
I also have Brunson here. It's close between. I'm guessing you have. I'm assuming you have Booker at 4.
Nah, that's where I have Luca.
Yeah. Okay. So you have Booker at 4.
Yeah,
Uh, Brunson and Booker is a good debate. It's close. Uh, it's one that I was going back and forth on. The one thing I think is that, like, lots of people I saw when I was looking at lists, they had Brunson over Booker. I think lots of that is recency bias,
yeah,
because the last thing we remember of Booker in the NBA, uh, and not in the Olympics, the last thing we remember of Booker is, he kind of didn't do that well against the Timberwolves.
yeah.
Now, he was facing the best defensive team in the league, whereas, Brunson was definitely not. Um, so yeah, I think that that's something to take into consideration. The fact that Booker had a way harder time in the playoffs than Brunson did
Yeah,
in
I
terms of how they were being defended.
yeah, and I think part of it is also they're like polar opposites. Opposites. The NBA fandom community in general hates Devin Booker, and
I don't understand
and
it.
they really love Jalen Brunson. So I think there's a lot
Yes.
of just bias in general in that comparison. But I agree. I think it's super close between the two of them, and I think Jalen Brunson, with the way he was playing, we could see him take that spot next year. Um, Undoubtedly. But I gave
Yeah.
Devin Booker the benefit of the doubt. He's been a vet in the league for a while now. Obviously, he had the finals run
Hmm.
a few years ago. He still had a pretty good season. Obviously, the Suns has some things they needed to work out with the point guard position. I always think Book's been an incredibly underrated playmaker. He's a very underrated defender at this point in his career as well. Um,
He averaged 7 assists this year.
yeah,
So, like, that's crazy.
and his scoring ability is unmatched. When Booker's on, I don't think there's a single person in the league that can stop him. Um, and yeah, obviously the getting swept in the playoffs and his performance
Yeah.
left a sour taste in people's mouths. But I think the Brunson hype in the playoffs kind of got blown out of proportion as well. I mean,
I agree.
at the end of the day, they did end up losing in the second round to the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, a lot of that was due to injuries, but and that's why they bolstered up the roster with Mikhail. So I think the Knicks will be back again next year, and Brunson will have probably an MVP caliber season. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just I gave Book the benefit of the doubt, 100%. But
Same.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really like Brunson as well. Obviously, elite scorer, elite playmaker, and what he's able to do at his size is great as well. Obviously,
Yeah.
the defensive side of the ball, you're not going to get much from him, but that's fine with the way the Knicks team is built.
Yeah, he had such an incredible year. But yeah, I think I'm giving Booker a bit more benefit of the doubt, and I think that people will put Brunson over just because of the recency bias. But like, Booker was the best player on a team that made the finals not too long ago. And he also like he's doing this, he's averaging 27 and 7 next to Kevin Durant, you know? So, who's really competing for those shots in New York? Whereas Booker's still getting his next to Kevin Durant, and he's able to like you talked about Reese and his ability to kind of flip the switch between scoring and facilitating. Whereas Booker kind of mastered that this
Yep.
year, I think. I was kind of worried when this team didn't have a point guard, but the way that Booker was able to step in and facilitate for this team and be their lead ball handler, uh, it was it was really impressive,
Yeah,
and so I think that gives him the edge as well.
yeah, that's why I wasn't like at the beginning of the season when they were going in without a point guard. I wasn't concerned because I Booker is just so underrated as a playmaker, and even defensively, again, he's super underrated now. Like I don't know,
Yeah, I agree.
people still try to act like he's a below average defender. When I'd say he's borderline, he's probably borderline a great defender. Especially when he really locks in as well. Um,
Yes, that's a lot of what the NBA is as well. Is physical tools and how often you want to play defense. Like we're seeing on the Olympic team, like he wants to accept his role as a defender, and he's been doing really good at that. Like in Phoenix, when he has to carry so much of the offensive load, you're not really going to see that as much.
yeah,
So yeah. Um, okay, we're getting into our top three now. Who do you have at number three?
I have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Do you actually?
I do.
Okay, the way you like whispered it, I thought it was like a joke. Not that it's like crazy or anything. I have Steph at three, um, and it's yeah, both obviously amazing players. It's close. I kind of thought that you were gonna have Shea at three,
Yeah,
if I'm being honest. Um, but yeah, I think that Shea has proven himself over Curry. Um, and the reason for that is this is the second year of Shea averaging over 30 points per game. He did it last year, and people are like, well, now he needs to do it on a winning team. And he did it on a team that's good and didn't miss a beat. Uh, I had him as a guy that should have made an all defensive team. I think when we made our all defensive teams, I had him there. So the defensive impact is definitely there. And I mean, playmaking wise, really good. Like he averaged more assists than Curry, but like we know Curry's gravity
yeah,
and that side of his playmaking. But like Shea, I think what really sold it for me was that playoff series against the Mavericks, where I think he outplayed Luka in that
yeah.
series. I think he
That's
was the
fair.
best player in that series. Um, and just the fact that Shea has done it, he averaged 30, I guess 2 years ago now, and then last year he averaged 30, and he was able to continue that with his team being the one seed, and I obviously the team was really good, but like he is a big reason why they did so good.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was me still giving Steph that benefit of the doubt. I'm not upset about at all anybody putting Shea over Steph. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, obviously he had a super good. Shea had a super good season this year, and yeah, like you said, the playmaking. Obviously, he scores at an elite level. I do think it is partially inflated with how many free throws he gets, but it's
Okay.
part of the game, I suppose.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, obviously he just is so I don't know what the word is finesse in the way he scores.
Polished.
Yeah, he can just get to his spots all the time, and yeah, obviously the defense was really good this year. I do I would say I'd give credit to a lot of the team in general. You know, Chet as a backline defender is phenomenal.
Yes.
Um, Lou
Lou
Dort,
Dort.
J Dub is
Yeah.
pretty good defensively as well. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
and that's the thing with the playoffs as well. For me, as well, they just have a super good team in general. But yeah, you're definitely right that he was fantastic in that series against the Mavericks. Um,
The Mavericks.
but yeah, I think I just
Yeah,
wanted to give Steph the benefit of the doubt. I've been a part of
that's fair.
the group that's not the group, but like the belief that while I don't think he's been massively declining, I think there's a bit of a noticeable difference in Steph's play. And granted, I'm sure
Clutch Player of the Year?
did he win? I forgot.
He was the clutch. He won Clutch Player of the Year, man.
Fuck that award. Um,
Yeah,
I think, and yeah, I think part of that is due to his team and having lack of really any secondary option. Wiggins,
that's the unfortunate thing.
Wiggins completely disappeared. Clay,
Yeah,
0 for 10 Clay. Draymond
yeah.
missed a bunch of
Draymond's antics. Yeah.
I would really like them to go out and get Larry
Steve
Martin,
Kerr sabotaging.
Steve Kerr,
Not playing Kaminga for so long and then being like, oh, Kaminga's actually good.
Steve Kerr negative coach of the year. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Laurie would be amazing for them.
yeah, yeah. I 100% think they should buy in, as long as they don't have to trade 7 first-round picks for him.
They just don't want to give up pods. I think that's the main holdup.
And I
The
think that's
Warriors want to
fair.
keep pods, and the Jazz want them.
I would not give up odds just because you need that too in general. Unless you really think you could bank on D'Anthony Melton and Buddy Hield, but I'd rather, you know,
Yeah.
have one of them be the back.
Well, it's also like, this is the only young guy that Steve Kerr has really ever played.
Yeah,
Like, he started him over Clay. Like, so I think that speaks a lot to the trust that Steve Kerr has in him, and there's a reason he has that trust because Pods was really good.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, Curry did win Clutch Player of the Year, and I definitely want to see him with some more talent around him. But I mean, yeah, like his age is starting to show a little bit. Like
yeah,
he doesn't look as invincible as before. He did have some down moments in the season where his shot wasn't falling and where he didn't look like the Steph Curry we're accustomed to. But it's still Steph Curry. You still have to obviously respect him. He is still amazing. I just gave Shea that bit of an edge. Like,
yeah,
they're the same tier. Like, again, it's splitting hairs, but I think overall I'm comfortable putting Shea over him.
yeah. No, I think that's fair, and yeah, I think unless Steph has a really good season next year, I think I would be 100% comfortable putting Shea over him. But yeah,
Yeah, fair. And then lastly, number one, I have Malachi Flynn.
me too.
You know, he he dropped 50 in a game.
Oh man,
Great player. No, it's obviously Luka. Um, he has an argument for the best player in the world.
yeah,
So there's
no doubt,
it's
in my opinion.
yeah,
Obviously
no doubt he is, or no doubt that.
that he's the best point guard.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say best player. Okay, we're not there yet. Let's not jump the gun. That's in the future, and we have to worry about that.
Yeah, talk to me once you get an MVP, Luka.
Oof. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, he led the league in scoring, averaging 34 points per game. He improved his three-point shooting, and he, is knocked down from that area really now.
He showed at
And
times he's a
yeah,
solid defender when he puts in minimal
yes,
effort. Any effort for him on the defensive side of the ball shows that he can be a solid defender.
yeah. He might just be the most talented player in the league, and he probably is the best scorer in the league right now.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
the scoring ability is
yeah.
unreal. The reads that
The playmaking,
the reads
yes.
and the playmaking is insane. And obviously, he rebounds at a high clip. Not that that really matters, other than for stuff in the stat sheet and being the best fantasy player. And
Yeah.
yeah, with the efficiency up, and then with the deep playoff run, would have been. I think if they won, I think he'd probably get that reign. If they won the finals, he would have gotten that title. But unfortunately, Boston's too good.
Yeah. but still an incredible season, an incredible run. He's definitely the front runner for next year's MVP. Like he is definitely the big favorite right now, especially since he's not in the Olympics. Just gives him more time to rest up his body, because he is a player that plays physical. So, uh, yeah. So you got all that. Amazing playmaker. Like that pass he made, I think it was against the Lakers. The like kick out to Dante Exum. It's like he does that shit so
Some of
often.
his like cross the court no looks are absolutely
Yes.
nuts.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just the playmaking there and just everything. Uh just such a talented player, and it's crazy cuz he's not like crazy like he is athletic obviously because you need to be athletic to be in the NBA, but he doesn't have that like explosiveness that, other players can really hang their hat on. Like
Yeah,
he's able to do all the things he's able to do, and he's not the quickest. He's not the best. He doesn't have the best vertical, but it just shows his talent level that he is able to, with all of his physical tools and deficiencies, he's able to average 34 and 10
yeah. That's
every night.
that's the thing. He
So
uses his size perfectly to his his
mhm.
advantage, and it's impossible to speed.
So good with angles.
Yeah, for
So good with angles. And just so good with, yeah, using his body, his ability to not let anyone slow him down.
yeah.
Which like that
Impossible,
change of pace.
impossible to speed him up, impossible to slow him down. You might as well leave the man open the way he plays.
Pretty much, yeah. There's not many ways. There's not any ways you can really defend him. Like, he is a guy that really the only way to defend him is to double team him, and that's what we've seen when he dropped 73 this season. He, with single coverage, he is going to score 73. Like, he can just do that because he is a magician. He is Luca Magic.
He's just
You know?
he's just so insane.
Yes, the only way to stop him is to really double him. And even that doesn't really
Isn't
do much.
the best idea either.
Yeah. So he is just like he is probably the hardest player to scheme against in the league, and I like this Luca glazing segment.
Who doesn't?
Like, yeah, like you can have an argument that he should have been the MVP. I had him as the MVP at some points in the season. So yeah, I think that's about it for that one. Anything else to add?
Nah, I think we pretty much covered everything pretty well. Yeah, I'm. Yeah, not that our lists are usually very different, but yeah,
There's just those little debates, like Shea and Curry, Tyrese and Trey, and then Dame, Jamal, and Maxi. Those are the ones where it's like you're splitting hairs, and one of us went one way, one of us went the other, and that's honestly good,
yeah.
because we can look at both sides kind of.
Nah, you know how
And
interesting it would be if we just came out here and said the exact same list verbatim?
yeah, it might as well just be one of us on the podcast then, you know. But yeah, you kind of swayed me a bit with the Trey and Reese thing, because I kind of thought that when I was putting Trey on the list, I kind of thought he was closer to De'Aaron at number 8. But then I think that the more I thought about it, and the more I heard you kind of talk about it, I think Trey's closer to Reese at 6.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it's just a bit of Tyrese Halliburton being slightly overrated and Trae Young being
that's
quite underrated.
that's fair. They're definitely closer than lots of people think, probably.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that's all. I think that's it for this episode of the Hoopers Lab podcast. Let's just do a quick recap. I have Luca 1, Shea 2, Curry 3, Booker 4. Yes, he's a point guard. 5, Brunson. 6, Tyrese Halliburton. 7, Trey Young. 8, De'Aaron Fox. 9, Damian Lillard. 10, Jamal Murray. And then honorable mention is Maxi.
and then the better list.
And then what's your quick list?
Better list. Luka at 1, Steph 2, Shea 3, Booker 4, 5 Brunson, 6 Trae Young, 7 Tyrese Halliburton, 8 De'Aaron Fox, 9 Tyrese Maxey, 10 Damian Lillard, and honorable mention Jamal Head Murray.
Okay. Well, that's enough for this episode of the Hoopers Lab podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for when we rank the shooting guards next. which will be interesting because with Booker not on that list, it kind of opens up more. And there's still lots of good quality players that we'll talk about. So tune in for the next episode. If you're on Spotify, leave us 5 stars. If you are on YouTube, like and subscribe, and comment your list. And that's all for us now. We'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.
Adios.